Sure, I'll give it a shot. All right.
Yeah.
I'm calling this meeting of the Development Review Board to order at 5:04 p.m. The first item on our agenda is ZP-23-464 702 Lake Street. Do I have the does anybody opposed to this item being consent?
It is, yeah. Yeah, that's right there. Okay.
Yeah. Do we normally call up applicants for consent items?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Sorry, is there a discrepancy on what number it is? Maybe it doesn't matter, but it seems like it's 23-464 or 25-526.
25-526.
Okay. Well, so ZP-25-526 702 Lake Street. So if we're treating this as consent, do we want to?
We should. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda item.
Okay, do we have a second? Right. Second, all those in favor? Aye. Right.
One abstain.
Yeah, one abstention.
Abstaining, yeah.
Okay. All right.
You're good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, ZP-25-197, 93-97 North Street. Yeah. Yeah, do you mind sitting? Is anybody else here to speak on this matter?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Or to see what he has to say.
Yeah, so anybody who's here to speak on this matter, can I have you raise your right hand? Say that the testimony you're about to give is true under the pains and penalties of perjury. Thank you. Normally we start with the applicant for these, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I see you've revised some of the application thing of feedback. Is there anything else you'd like to walk us through or maybe touch on the changes?
Yeah, we touch on the changes, but explain the changes since the last time we saw it. Since the last time we saw it. Last time you guys saw it, there was, well, let me just back up a little bit. We got approved for a certain amount of units. And you actually have it in here. Amended from 14 units, now we're up to 17 units. Nothing has changed since the approval of a unit in terms of the building. Only change that ever happened with the building was the internal. Essentially, we found a little bit more space to be able to divvy up the units to be able to accommodate more on site. So, site plan has not changed. Civil standpoint, flows of, nothing has changed in terms of how we're dealing with water. Nothing has changed with how we're dealing with parking. I think what tripped us up last time was that we hadn't put forward a transportation demand. So that was one of the requirements that we needed to do in order to kind of get across the finish line. And I think one of the last things that Scott has here is a landscaping plan that we needed to present. So I think generally speaking, again, nothing's changed in terms of the design. We just came back, we need to present a landscaping plan and transportation management, which we submitted. I think we're, generally speaking, I think we're general.
I think there's also additional bike parking, correct?
Yes.
Last time.
Yes. So we've essentially codified that. We have bike parking. I don't know if you can go to the main level, Scott, 2.0 or 2.1. Yeah. So on this plan, behind the parking, behind the 4 parking spots, we've given a series of like 3 or 4 spaces per bike spot in the, behind the parking. you know, it's lockable, it's got plenty of light back there, and they'll be tripped on, you know, somebody going back there, and, you know, activate upon motion. So we've put long-term bike storage there. Short-term bike storage is, go back to the landscape, Scott. We have marked the location on the, where your pointers go down and to the right a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little laggy. About there.
There. So we have an area right there also for like a short-term bike parking spot.
Any questions from any?
Back to the landscaping plan, is that a recent requirement or is that something you've already submitted and? Is there anything that we can review here? Can you show us the landscaping plan?
Generally, the landscaping plan is, you know, pretty straightforward. You know, we've provided the civil engineer provided 2 areas for water infiltration. One is directly behind the new portion of the building, and then one is at the end of the sort of at the southern portion of the site by the rubbish and recycling areas. So what we did too was we had some pre-existing trees that I think were sort of at the end of their life. So along the parking area, the sort of the top southeastern corner, we put some new plantings there. We put some new plantings as well on the water infiltration area, the back part of the building too. But you know, nothing overly abundant, but enough to make it look hopefully appeal to people parking outside, visiting the site.
I recall one of your neighbors had some concerns about lights flashing into their property or maybe the fence line along there. It looks like you've been in contact with them or made sure your plans can address their concerns.
Well, definitely, we had a fence there on site, and the plan is to put a fence back to make sure that there's no pedestrian crossing over on another person's property, or you know, we do have, I think the existing fence wasn't in the best shape, but completely committed to putting the fence back. Yeah.
Any other questions from the board?
That fence, is that fence just gonna be a normal chain link or is it gonna be slats?
The pre-existing fence with the stockade fence.
Stockade, okay.
And that's what we plan on.
Yeah.
The TDM, annual studies of parking utilization will be conducted. And then, I guess, those be used to revise the plan or provide more bike spaces if needed or.
That's just a requirement in the ordinance, Leo.
Yeah.
Every TDM project with on-site parking needs to provide annual reports to the city. There's not a goal in mind, but the gist of it is to help inform how effective or not the TDM measures are.
I will tell you that just a small add-on is that, you know, the people that own this site and actually they don't own the building directly to the east.
Yeah.
You know, they basically this property, the property to the east and on the north side, you know, on the other side of North Street, you know, Bissonets own this property, and I know for them, the management of a lot of their parking is something that they're, you know, they're tuned into pretty well. I think they are committed to doing, you know, additional bike parking areas on all of the properties, not just for this one. We're trying not to also overpark, so that's that's one of the, I think, things about this site, even though, we have 17 units and I think we have 17 parking spots if I'm not mistaken, but they're doing their best to try to manage all of that.
Have the conversations with Car Share Vermont started as far as having a spot on site?
Only started, we haven't crossed the finish line on have an actual spot. So I know they have areas, pre-existing areas that they have in and around this area, switching it to for them to add additional capacity. They may not have to do so, but I know, again, the owners are looking to offer that to not just this property, but so.
Any other questions from the board? Would you like to give any testimony?
Or points of clarification, I guess?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. If we could hold that up, okay, but I just wanna make, can I point to the?
Yeah.
the screen? Okay, so this is North Street, right? Oh, I'm
Oh, yeah.
sorry, I'm Kirsten Isbro. And I live on Park Street, 124 Park Street. And I was the one that brought up the question about the fence. So right now, so there's two Champlain Housing Trust houses, properties right here. Sorry, Marina, you can't see where I'm pointing, but yeah. And right now, I had asked Bill Bissonette to remove one of the box elder trees that was over. There's a number of tree stumps at this point that are intertwined in a shitty chicken wire fence that's been there probably for about 50 years.
Okay.
And so Bill and I split the cost on one of the trees that was on his property but was overreaching ours. This was before I even knew this project was happening. So that is not the slab fence that was mentioned, and I have emailed you a couple times about this. I think the fence that you were talking about was over here. So the whole property line here, this fence, there's a variety of different ones, but the one right behind our house and our neighbors definitely needs to be replaced. And that was what I was concerned about, is because we've got how many parking lot spots right here? How many is that?
12.
Yeah, so all of that, and there's no, I mean, I have one pine tree here, but yeah, so I would propose that a whole new fence gets put in there. I don't know what we want to do with that chicken wire fence. I don't know if it's ours or Champlain Housing Trust. I've included Bill in that conversation, but no one's responded. So I don't know what we want to do with that piece, and I don't know how you deal with property lines, but I am concerned about headlights coming right into our backyard. That's all I have to say.
But are you aware of survey pins show that demarcate that line?
We had the property surveyed. I couldn't tell you exactly what the pins
So
are.
you're pretty confident that, BizNet knows where the line is and where the appropriate location for a fence would be on.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that Bill has no problem.
Yeah.
Reading with a fence on that property line. So,
But just to be clear, there's not a fence shown on the plans there right now. It's hard to see. I see it on the other borders.
I don't know if you
not-
remember that.
There's a fence shown on there. If you zoom in there, it's that line with the little circles.
I see it
All it says
outside.
is existing fence to remain or be repaired along that southern line.
On the southern line, but
Yep.
that's the
Well, not,
No, that's not
What-
southern. That's
Yeah.
the western.
that's a western line, and so that's why I keep asking for points of clarification, because there's been absolutely no mention of the western property line.
So if it's western and not southern, I was misreading tiny compass rows. So the line on the bottom of that plan has a notation that says existing fence to remain or be repaired.
That is the western property line. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say it's not even worth repairing.
So
Do you have a
replace.
sense of whether the applicant would be okay with it?
I have no doubt that the applicant, he won't stop this project. Or if you guys put a condition of approval to replace the fence with a new stockade fence, he'll do it. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna. I don't want that to stop this project.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, if you want to make an addition that the western fence line is to be completely placed, I think that's a doable thing. Okay.
Else?
So online, Evan Sharon Busher has her hand up.
Okay, yep. Sorry, Sharon. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. I didn't swear in because I didn't think I was
Okay,
going
I'll just
to
swear you
say
in
anything.
now. Yeah, if you can just raise your hand.
Yep.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give is true and correct under the pains penalties of perjury?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you. Two things that I wanted to reference. One is in the plan, it references 5 maple trees in the words, but in the plan that you have, there are only 4 shown. So that's a discrepancy. I'm a really big proponent of trees and tree canopies for shading, for heat reduction as we develop more intensely. So that's number one. Number two is, and I think it's been resolved because I understand on the westerly portion, there might be a stockade fence, but I did hear the neighbors say about headlights shining into their property. And this has been an issue for many projects, even in Ward 1 where I live, and I didn't know whether there would be room enough to put there. I'm not an arborist, so but there are these very thin cedar trees that grow thin and tall and not wide, and so any vegetation that could buffer some of those headlights would be appreciated and I think would be helpful in the overall massing of that large parking area. And the other thing I wanted to mention was I don't know how many parking spaces trigger this, but in some parking lots, after so many spaces, you need to have a tree planted for shading. So I'm just feeling that, I think that environmentally we are not where we need to be when we look at design and development. And I in no way I think I support this project, but I do think that there are ways to improve it that make it better for abutters and also environmentally better. So thank you.
That's just the. One of the.
No.
Yeah. Shut the door. Doesn't help with that, but.
Is no one talking or did the sound cut out?
There's a alarm going off.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Can you not hear the?
No,
Noise canceling.
thankfully.
No. Yeah. Do you want to respond to?
Whether or not we need shade. I would have picked that up. I think that the landscaping plan is showing a little bit of between.
And it does look like the permit. Between,
I think it's extremely tight right there. Trying to, any kind of trees in that area, shrub. Keeping that's in that environment. To Sharon's point about the climate, we clearly, I mean, this would be the. I can tell you, I'm sure most of you know, in this business, it's an extreme improvement. It's really has area for the environment. Amount of water going to be action than what it was before. It matter. You know, I understand insurance trying to do their job, but I'm the ability to be there.
Hey, it's really hard to hear. I think the audio might be cutting in and out.
We're gonna wait.
yes, this is fine, this is awful. Yeah, I think. Any of the. Convoys, yeah. Presumably this is protest. Ireland is down the road. It's just a test. Those guys walked by that they were off. Maybe that's or see what's going on. Okay. Outside of check.
What's worse out there? You're still testing.
It's still going off.
Oh my God, horrible.
Alright, sorry about that, would you wanna restate your responses to that?
With respect to the landscaping, this is a pointer, isn't it?
Yep.
All right. With respect to putting trees, I know that online people can't see it, but with respect to putting trees along this property line, I think this landscaping plan just. It's showing, you know, space here, but it's tough. There's not a lot of space there, and I don't think adding shrubs would be more better, or, you know, would do a much better job, or, you know, add any additional benefit other than aesthetics than maybe blocking, stopping fence to some degree. But I'm not even sure to some degree if there's enough space really there. But and regarding the shading trees, you know, I don't I don't think we are required to do them. It doesn't mean that, you know, they're not great to have, but to Sharon's point about the environmental capacity or the environmental aspects of this building, you know, the Vermont Energy Code is robust. It's a great thing, and you know, the building itself or the previous building and you know, up was probably terribly with you know, energy suck for the people and the tenants using it. This new building has to meet my energy code, which is, you know, in my opinion, one of the better codes that's been implemented in the last 10-15 years. So I think that does a tremendous amount more than adding 1 or 2 trees when we are doing our best to park people on the site accordingly. So I hope that makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, can I quick, is that gonna be asphalt or is it soft pack, hard pack?
It's asphalt.
Asphalt, okay.
Any other questions from the board? Anyone else want to give testimony? Okay, with that, I will close the public hearing. Thank you. Thank you guys. All right, and our last agenda item, ZP 24-533 276 Ethan Allen Parkway. After the fact after the fact application for here. Is the applicant here?
I believe they're available on Zoom.
Okay. So everybody is here to speak on this matter. If I can just have you raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is true and correct under pain of perjury? I do. Okay.
Great. My name is Peter Raymond. Represent the applicant, Joseph Van Lander. What we've submitted to the board is request for an extension of the planting deadline. When we came in August and submitted this, it's a plan for 39 arborvitae trees along the north and western boundaries. Mostly, there's a little bit. That approval was in August, and subsequent to that date, there's been work that's been done towards that project, but then just due to the passage of time, largely the drought conditions that we had, and now the winter, we'd like to be able to plant them in the spring just to ensure their health. So what happened? So that's the high level to give you some more information. So approval was in August. The landers had done some soil testing prior to that time to understand, what would be the best options for the planting. So after receiving that approval, there was a contractor brought in to remove the stumps of the previous trees to enable better planting when these are ready, and also about I think 12 truckloads of soil amendments to the area, both to help keep down this invasive vine that they're dealing with, and also to supplement the soil in the area where the trees are. That was into the fall. They had been in contact with DJ's Tree Service, which is one of your packet. And that was also during the time that we were just experiencing kind of significant drought throughout Vermont. So by the time that drought really passed, we were then faced with the freezing temperatures, and which is not an ideal time to plant. And there's a letter in there from the arborist who's part of DJ's that making that recommendation as well. The trees that are going to be planted, it is a significant investment by the landers. It's also the goal being to provide some screening, so they want to do it when the trees have the best chance of survival, rather than dying or not taking root. So the freezing temperatures raise a concern when new trees requires kind of constant watering, especially during that first month. So during the drought period, there was a concern about planting them there. These are fairly large; they're supposed to be 6 feet at the time of planting, so they kind of have high water needs. That's why it wasn't done during the kind of September-October period. So requesting a 6-month extension, which would really give them until kind of that May time period, which would be kind of an ideal time. And the variable there will just be on like when the trees are available in the nurseries, after whether it's first week of May, middle of May, so that's what the 6 month is being requested.
Just going back, the timeline. There was an original intent to do just plantings early in 2025, right? But then it was deferred and then the DOB decided in August.
Yeah, so my understanding, so I wasn't involved in the first hearing. What happened was there was an application for an after the fact zoning permit, I think, because the landers, ran it wrongly, didn't know about the requirement, so they came in and the DRB conditioned it like, hey, we need to see a planting plan. And so then that's what it was deferred, and then due to various circumstances. They did the soil testing during that period to kind of inform the planting plan, but the plan wasn't, and they had been in contact with a couple of tree installers. It just took them some time to put that together, and that's what was eventually approved in August, once that final plan was together.
But they were attempting to do plantings this year, even going so far back as January. They had the intention.
You're right. I mean, they had the intention to comply with the regulations, and then it was just, kind of together, yeah.
Any other questions? Is there anybody online here to speak on this matter?
Like to speak on this item and you're online, raise your hand, please. Looks like we have a quiet crowd.
Okay. Absent any objections, I will close this public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, and what's it gonna go over to? I move to on ZP 25-197. I move that we adopt staff's findings and recommendations and all permit conditions with the additional condition that a stockade fence be installed on the western side of the property to screen that portion from light. Okay. All those in favor? All right. Unanimous. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the extension for ZP 24-533 with the understanding that we are unlikely to grant any additional extensions, and our expectation is that the work begins during this period.
Second.
When the amendment begins or ends, I mean, it's reasonable to require, because there's not a long construction process, right? It's only take a day or two, or am I wrong?
I'm fine with just saying it be completed within this extension period.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a done.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,